What's going on, people? Welcome to Live Palace News. I'm joined by T here to discuss all the latest news after the window has shut. As you can see from the title, we'll be discussing Marc Guehi and how he's feeling. There's been some reports that's come out today, as well as just recapping the madness that happened yesterday. As always, drop a like, subscribe if you are new to the channel. Let's see if we can hit over 200 likes with everyone watching on replay as well. And most importantly, get involved in the live comment section. T, we couldn't speak to you yesterday. It was a crazy day in terms of all the news breaking. But how you been, man? What do you make of it all? Look at it from the outside in.
Oh man, I couldn't chime in with the deadline day show just because life was life, but like, man, you went through all the gambit of emotions. I can say that, man. You go from elated to be bringing in certain players to then, white knuckling and hoping that you can hold on to somebody like Guehi and going back and forth about who could be coming in, and it was just a lot, man. Happy. I'm going to echo the sentiment of Patrick when he says, just close it, just close the window, and let's be done with it. Like that was the feeling I was getting.
Yeah, close the window. Let's be done with it. I feel like even yesterday I feel like even though the window's closed, these next couple of weeks or months, I don't know how long it'll take. I think there's a bit of there's a bit of work to be done, especially in terms of fixing maybe broken relationships, etc. Because I think this whole window and even today was a bit of yesterday was a bit of a madness about everything that's going on and everything that went on. So and today there's no surprise that there's news coming out about Marc Guehi. According to Ed Aarons, which came out earlier on today, that Marc Guehi is extremely unhappy after being denied a move to Liverpool at the last minute yesterday, and he believes that he behaved correctly by continuing to play for Crystal Palace before they pulled the plug on a £35 million deal. This, which I never expected to happen. He also added the following. Guehi's planning to release a statement soon, which I never expected it to happen. But Bobby Mazzi came out and said that he won't be releasing a statement, which sounds a bit more realistic. And he hasn't released a statement so far. I don't think, as I said, I never thought Guehi would release a statement. And in all honesty, my reaction to the news is that it's not a shock. I mean, I would be unhappy as well. I mentioned it on deadline day. We made the guy go and do a medical. And at that point, I mean, when you're doing a medical, it's pretty much done and dusted. Like you're basically there and about. So pulling the plug last minute, he has all the rights to feel upset because it just wasn't good enough from the football club in terms of how we handled it. But saying that, I don't expect Guehi to cause a fuss and not to play for Palace and move like some of the other players. I just think he was just a bit upset. Well, in this report from Ed Aarons, is extremely unhappy, but I think he'll get over it. I think he'll be behind the team and playing, to his best of ability. And next summer, I think he moves on. But your thoughts on the whole situation?
Well, I think first and foremost, it just doesn't seem to be a lot of truth in what Ed Aarons was saying. And unfortunately, since and somebody pointed this out to me, and it seems like it could be true. I'm not saying that it is, but since Texter's been gone, Ed Aarons hasn't been very spot on with some of his reporting in terms of Palace, at least. But Bobby Mazzi came forward and basically rebuffed the statements that Ed Aarons was making. So he had no word of anything that in concern to Guehi making a statement. We have not seen any statement yet. And that was hours ago. So the thing that I would think
as well.
I don't think, I honestly don't think it's going to happen. I think that Marc Guehi will continue to be the same Marc Guehi that we've seen to this point, an ultra professional player that gives 100% of everything he has to the team. I saw some stuff about him relinquishing the captaincy of the team. I don't see that happening either. So I mean, I think the type of person that Marc Guehi is and the type of professional that he is, I think it's just going to be business as usual for him. And if anything, we are now setting him up to have even more freedom to figure out what the next step is for himself, because he's going to get a healthy signing on bonus more than likely wherever he goes. And if he goes for free, if he doesn't go in the next window in January for even less, and he ends up going for free next summer, now you're probably talking about the Real Madrids, the Barcelonas, the Juventuses of the world trying to throw their hat in the ring and bringing him in. So I think that's probably the hard part for Liverpool right now, is the fact that now they're really going to have a lot more competition for his signature in the next window, or whatever window it is that he's available.
Yeah. I think he'll be professional. I think he will play. I think him being unhappy is natural. Yesterday, I'd be annoyed as well if I was him. We shouldn't have gone ahead with the deal if we weren't fully committed, and we basically told him to go do his medical. We approved it. So I think that's more on us, and it's it's normal for him to be unhappy. But just looking back and maybe forward as well, based on everything that's happened in this previous window with Guehi now staying, do you reckon your early prediction that he stays in January as well?
I think that is really a big question mark, because of the fact that we have seen the raw, unadulterated commitment from Steve Parish to get rid of Marc and bring some type of money in. It seems like he's hell-bent and determined on making sure that Marc doesn't leave for free. And unfortunately, that plan didn't happen in this window. So he still stands to be able to move forward with that plan. It's just going to be more than likely at a lower dollar amount if he moves them on in January. So I wouldn't be surprised if by that time, by mid to late December or early January, we're hearing rumors about teams coming in trying to acquire him at a lower rate in January before he can hit that free market in the summer. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I think it depends on where we're at in January. I mean, if we're out of the Conference League, if we're out of cup competitions, and if we're just struggling in the league, when I say struggling, like just floating around mid-table, then maybe we do go for how much you even get for him, maybe £15 million.
Probably 15 to 20, yeah. But I think regardless of what we're doing, regardless of how we're doing, whether good or bad, I think the speculation is going to be there. Not to say we're going to make the move, but I think the speculation is going to be there.
Yeah. And I guess time will tell. So hopefully we have a strong start to the season, which we've done so far. We're still 14 games unbeaten. And that's the thing. Because of all the transfer news, we're forgetting what's actually happened on the pitch. We're 14 games unbeaten. I think we've kept 10 clean sheets in the last 18 games. The squad harmony was stronger than ever before the Villa game. And now it just seems like, Guehi's upset. This is upset. I think it will all get solved. I think Guehi's a professional. I think Guehi, despite him being unhappy, even if he was unhappy, even if it's true, he'll put his head down. He's a top professional. He showed that all along, ever since he's joined Palace, even before this window, through the hard times and the good times, he's always remained consistent. And you can tell that he's loved by the players and he's loved by the fans as well. So next time he plays at Selhurst Park, it's gonna be big. That's an interesting comment from David saying, can see the club offering him a bonus to sign with a release clause. It covers both parties. I've been thinking about that too. But I guess it depends on how much damage has been done, based on how Guehi feels about this window. But it still doesn't really benefit Guehi, does it? I think it benefits us more. I mean, he has to get crazy
because
weekly for him to benefit him. Because he just had pre-contract agreement with European clubs in January.
Yeah, because the thing about it is there is a reason why he hasn't signed an extension yet. And that goes. I mean, like, he's not being paid that great. He's not. I don't even know if he's in with. He might be just within the top 10 in our pay range on the team.
He's reportedly on around £50,000 a week. So
yeah, like we're talking about debatably one of the best center backs in the Premier League.
Yeah,
he's on 50. He's on 50K a week. You know what I mean? So I'm sure we've offered him better terms to where he can get paid more money, and he hasn't gone for it. So it's something else that is not leading him to doing that, to signing an extension. So I at this point I can't see it happening, because if he was really interested in doing it, it might have happened already.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And Steve Parish wouldn't have gone ahead nearly with the deal. I know he ended up staying, but we withdraw in the last minute. I mean, if it was even close to Guehi signing a new contract, I don't think he would have risked it and sold Guehi. So clearly, behind the scenes, he doesn't want to sign a new deal. So I think it'll be difficult,
And
regardless of
dear
how.
God, the meltdown that could have occurred if we would have been saddled with Igor from Brighton and Marc going out the door.
Yeah, yeah. About that, we're gonna touch on that, because there's an update on the sporting director, which I said yesterday we definitely need, because this window has just been so confusing in terms of how we've approached it. But there's nearly 200 people here watching live, and I know a lot of people watching replay. How many likes we're on? We're on 65. If you haven't already done so, please hit the like button and subscribe if you are new to the channel. It helps us out massively. So thank you to each and every single one of you that's done that. Marc wasn't going to sign anyway, and Glasner was always going to see where he's at when his contract runs out. Don't think any of this has any bearing on what will happen in the future. Yeah, Marc wasn't going to sign, and Steve Parish wanted to get any kind of money he can for him.
And I think that's the vein of it, is that Steve Parish knows that Marc won't sign. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's almost like, I don't want to say it, but it's almost like he's moving to spite Guehi because he won't sign. It's like, yeah, I'm going to sell you for whatever I can get. Like, I don't care. I don't care what the manager wants. I don't care what the fans want. I don't care what the other players want. I'm getting rid of him because he won't sign, and I want him to. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just...
Let's see what happens. At this point, no one's really sure, right? Like, we don't know what's going to happen. Let's just see what happens, and then we can go from there. There was some injury updates as well as sporting director. Let's move on to the sporting director news, which we've known about for a few weeks now, that Matt Hobbs will be coming into Palace. Alan Nixon has reported that. The interesting part is he said that Matt Nixon is set to join Palace. I don't know if he's officially joined it, but he's been at games already, so I don't know if he's had any influence. But Alan Nixon has said the following, which I found very interesting. Chairman Steve Parish conducted a transfer business for the closing weeks of the window after Dougie Friedman's exit became complete. That makes a lot of sense. Well, it's not surprising. That makes a lot of sense for some of the players that we're linked with, some of the actions that we've done on deadline day. It just seemed like we were just confused. We were just all over the place. It was very uncharacteristic of us. Yes. I know at times we do late business and it's not good enough, etc., but never as baffling as yesterday, because Igor Julio was going to come in, Brighton's sixth choice. Manor Solomon was going to also potentially come in. It just seems like we didn't have any proper plan, but it seems like Parish was at the helm, and maybe that's not going to be the case now with Matt Hobbs coming in, which just linking to our new signing, Uche. Dave from Talking Wolves channel, of course, he used to be the former Wolves sporting director, said that he's not surprised if he played a part on bringing Uche to the club, because, of course, Wolves were linked with him as well. So, I think it's massive for us to get a sporting director. As I said, these next few months, weeks, we just need to get the house in order, because ever since Doug has left and John Texer also left as well, there's a lot that went on this summer. It just feels like we need to take a step back and start again. Sporting director, focus on the main stand, focus on, the ambitions going forward, because this summer it just felt like we were all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, it you could tell, like, I posted about it during the deadline process. Everything that we were going through, everything we hear about, all the sagas, all the pieces to it, it felt like, and I think I really got to that point when we were at the point where we were hearing about Igor, and then we were hearing about Manor Solomon, and it's like, this feels like where somebody is moving out of desperation. This feels like somebody is just doing stuff to do it, not because they have any true research, intel, data analytics on these moves.
Yeah,
and it makes sense because we don't have a sporting director. We don't have a person whose job it literally is to do this work.
That people
That's
in
why.
place, covering that role, but we didn't officially, of
Yes,
course, have a sporting director. It's just
but
people.
somebody who's only dedicated to this, who then in the end, or when it comes down to a situation on deadline day, they are the one that's truly making the calls and having the say in what we do. You know what I mean? For the same reason why you have two really early signings in the window, albeit free signings, or low cost signings in the very beginning of the window, and then you go from June all the way to the end of August with nothing. And it's because you probably just don't have the people in place where they need to be in order to do the things you need to do in the right time frame. So, I'm very happy to hear that we're going to not only be bringing in a sporting director. Matt Hobbs seems like he could be a pretty good person to be bringing in, but hopefully we won't be seeing these types of issues in our windows anymore.
Yeah, and it's key because even when we had Doug Friedman last year, not Steve Parish, Oliver Glasner wasn't happy with late business, and we have to make changes. We have to, show. I don't know if Glasner will sign a new deal after how this summer's gone by and last summer because he hasn't been happy in both of the windows. But if we can show a change and sell him a plan like that to say, you know what, we made a mistake. We've brought in another sporting director. We're going to ensure.
Yep.
We're going to do this so that doesn't happen, etc. Like if you show a bit of change and progress and a proper plan, then something may convince him. It improves our chances because I think the relationship between Steve Parish and Oliver Glasner, I don't think you have to be a genius to figure out that it's probably not the greatest. And I don't know how you recover it because this window he hasn't been happy at all. So Steve Parish needs to make changes behind the scenes to make sure he's happy. And yeah, let's see what Matt Hobbs does. Hopefully for the January window and going forward, we just have a bit more of a set plan. And maybe he has different strengths to Doug Friedman. Maybe we see different approaches as well. So it'll be interesting to see how we move forward with him at the football club. But still positive that sporting director could be coming in and should be coming in anyways. He's been pictured at Palace games already. So I don't know if Palace will officially confirm it, but yeah. Next game against Sunderland at home, I think there should be a lot of appreciation against not against, for Marc Guehi. It'll be nice to see the fans get behind him because he has ended up staying, and I think a lot of sellers, especially when his name gets mentioned before the game starts, I think a lot of the crowd will be behind him and supporting him as well. In terms of the injury update, so Ismail Issar and Adam Wharton went out injured. The latest on Ismail Issar is that he suffered a grade 2 tear on his hamstring. Adam Wharton, there was earlier news today suggesting that he could be out up until 8 weeks. However, Bobby Mansley has come in last minute and said that, in fact, it is not as bad as first reported, and it could now be up to 3 weeks of injury. So thankfully, Adam Wharton shouldn't be missing 2 months.
Yeah, and so we get 2 weeks on this break. 2 weeks on this.
2 weeks on this break, and then we got West Ham. So hopefully, Adam Wharton should be back for the Liverpool game. Maybe miss the Millwall game and the West Ham game, but that's massive for us, Steve, because especially in midfield, you don't want to lose numbers as we didn't sign a midfielder. Uche, he can play there, but it's a case of we didn't have a Conor Gallagher, etc., to get into the side, and Uche probably covers more in the number 10 role. But let's start off with Ismail Issar because that's a big one. Are you concerned about that with the right hand side, lack of numbers? I mean, Pino can play there.
Here's my concern, and I guess this could pan different ways depending on what Oliver Glasner sees and how he feels. My biggest issue is that number one, he doesn't rate Romain Esse. So, and that's more of his natural position that he's more accustomed to playing anyway. But so he doesn't favor Esse. You've got somebody like Uche or Pino who are newer players that he may not be ready to turn to as far as starting. Or you have somebody like possibly Justin Devaney, who most of us have all seen or agreed that the 10 spot is not going to be his best role for us. So if you're talking about the options, there's a lot of I don't know, maybe not. It's that there's no true go-to guy that we know is going to step in that role, because unfortunately, because of from one reason or another. So I'm interested to see, come that Sunderland match in 2 weeks, what he decides to do as far as the double tens role, and what's to come with the center field pairing too, center midfield pairing too.
Yeah, maybe Kamada can start as the left side of number 10 and Pino down the right hand side as he's played for Villarreal down the right hand side. So
that's true. But then if we're moving back to the central midfield, does that mean we start Lerma with Hughes?
Yeah, I guess so. That's the problem.
Yeah,
The Water being out
I feel like that's what I'm saying. We're not going to be able to pass. We're not going to be able to pass all of those two as our starting midfielders.
The thing is, Wharton should be back sooner rather than later. Wharton's missing 2 to 3 games. Sarr maybe 4 to 8 weeks, depending on how quickly he recovers. So if Wharton, there's just another update, by the way, on the Guehi deal from yesterday. I'm going to read it out in just a second. But yeah, if Wharton's back in about 1 or 2 games time, then that shouldn't be as much of a concern. So, but yeah, if Wharton was out for 8 weeks, then maybe Dyche could be covering him. But I think we should be fine. To see Pino or Kamada, maybe Uche can start there. Where do you think Uche will be starting for Palace? Primarily, because he's a very versatile player.
If I'm being 100% honest with you, he like watching this guy and looking at his stat, like he could play anywhere we need him to, in almost down the spine except for center back. I think the place that he's going to help us the most right now is between the 10 and the 9. The one thing that he possesses that I think none of our other players does, except, I don't think any of our other, he's 2-footed.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that we don't talk about enough, is that not only is he 6'3", not only is he a powerhouse, the way he moves, how fast he can move, he can pass, he can score, he can use both feet. So that automatically puts him into a whole nother realm when it comes to playing within our scheme, because he's not side dependent.
Yeah. So it would be nice to see how Glasner develops him, because he's got all the physical attributes. It's just about now. And also he's a good player as well. It's not like technically he's a bad player. It's just about Glasner taking him to the next level, which we've seen that he has done with players at Palace as well. So it's going to be exciting to see how he does. Just quickly, I know we moved on from the Guehi stuff, but going back at it, BBC, they released a report of Simon Mockbell about an hour ago. And in the report, I believe there's a lot of stuff being said about how it went down. But one of the key elements coming from Palace Extra, who picked out a section of that report, saying that Parish did not sit down with Guehi and his advisors until after 6 p.m. following a fitness class at a gym in Soho. It just seems like, if that is true, it just seems like that is very unserious on deadline day. I know, sometimes you be disciplined and you have to go gym, but to be going gym at 5 p.m. or whatever, 6 p.m. on deadline day, whilst your key signing could be leaving the club or whatever. I don't know how he done that, but yeah, it doesn't look good, I guess, in that regards. Maybe Guehi got pissed off over that. So after 6 p.m. he sat down with Guehi and then probably let him know then that he won't be leaving the club, which is a bit baffling if true, of course. But it's coming from Simon Mockbell, so it's not a bad source. Guehi, of course, with the England squad. Update on Pino. He's actually withdrawn from the Spanish national side, even though he was pictured to be joining the camp due to an ankle injury. So fingers crossed there's nothing serious there, because we can't afford any more injuries going forward. But just quickly, T, now that the window is closed, I think we'll do a separate video talking about it in a bit more detail. How are you feeling from here to the rest of the season, or from here till January, if you don't think this Guehi drama is still over?
I mean, I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling really good because I feel like we addressed a lot of depth needs within the window. I'm very, very happy that these new signings now have 2 weeks of training. Well, Not actually, because shoot, Uche went with Nigeria. At least, yeah. Well, at least they'll get time before we play again to be on the pitch, to work with the manager. So I think that's good. But the main thing I'm really, really happy with the fact that we have solid rotations, solid options for us moving forward, because there's so many games. And as we've seen with the last two injuries between Ismail Assar and Adam Morton, that the games it's a lot of them in a short period of time, and we can see what that does to guys' bodies. So it's great that we were able to add some depth to be able to have some quality rotation in our squad.
Yeah. I think we're there and abouts. Maybe one more midfielder would have been nice, but of course, players coming back from injury, and Ketia should be back in about a month's time.
Ketia being back, and who knows? I mean, we might get Check the Corey back sometime before the new year, which would be nice. Getting Chad
really by fans. I've noticed that when you're looking at some people doing squad depth and looking at the 11 versus some people that might be behind them, Decore really isn't part of the picture for a lot of people. I feel like I understand it to a certain degree because, of course, he's been out injured for a very long time. But he's meant to be a very good player. We just need to keep him fit, which is a big if at this point because he's picked up two bad injuries.
Absolutely, I think that's the hardest part, is kind of counting him within the ranks, just because we don't know, especially as fans, we don't know what he's looking like as far as his recovery, how he's doing, or what timelines may be. So, I mean, I can understand why people are kind of excluding him from that list, but at least we understand that in the back of our heads, he's working to get back. And from what we've heard from Glasner, it could be sometime before the new year, which is good as far as us, getting numbers back.
Yeah. So we just have to build on. I think, as I said, it's been a good start to the season. We can't drop off from that. We can't drop off. We have to make sure the squad morale remains high. And thankfully, it's Guehi in this situation. If out of all the players, I just think he will be a top professional about it. He might be a bit upset over how the deal panned out and the day went, but I think he'll just put his head down at the end of it because he knows that we've got a great manager. He knows that there's a chance for us to have more history, or create more history at the football club, and I think he will make sure he does that until the very last day he wears the Palace shirt. So I'm not really that worried. I think the only concern that I have right now isn't between isn't for Guehi. I think Guehi's gone at the end of the season. It's more about Glasner and Steve Parish. That's the one area which the difficult thing is we can pick up hints in his press conferences, but we will never know because we're not behind the scenes.
And like nothing, like I don't want to say it like it's the end all be all, but we can talk about Guehi leaving and we can talk about bringing in new players and all these things, but for me personally, if Glasner doesn't sign a new deal, a lot of this just doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like he's really like what he does with this squad, with his coaching methods, and the way he motivates players. That's what's pushing us to where we've gotten to and where we can go further on. So in thinking about the possible fracture in the relationship with Steve Parish, that's what scares me. Because if Steve Parish has done enough damage to the relationship with Oliver Glasner that he decides to go ahead and just walk away at the end of this season, then we have a whole nother conversation on our hands with everything related to him as our owner, to the state of our club with needing a new manager, to how satisfied the players are going to be moving forward. It's a lot of really tough conversations that are going to need to be had if something like that happens.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy for him. So let's see what happens. But if there's any questions, any last comments, we'll go through them before wrapping up. If you haven't already done so, hit the like button, people. Let's see. T spot on, says David. David agrees with you. Parish has got a manager and a player who ain't signing new deals. He has to act accordingly. If they're signing extensions, he'll be in a better position to act. I mean, regardless, Parish should have had the replacement lined up. Yeah, he knew about the Guehi situation from last summer.
Because they had because Glasner has talked about the fact that we had an agreement since the summer that
March.
that Marc Guehi could go,
and
only if we had a replacement in place. Steve Parish never did what he needed to do in order to get that person in place, and he let it get down to the last minute, down to deadline time, and he's scratching and clawing, trying to pull something together. And that's why you have some bull crap about a Brighton backup corner, a center back, trying to come in and fill the role. No, it is not Parish just doing what he needs to do, acting accordingly. He acted accordingly after he made the mistake of not acting early.
Yeah. We should have acted earlier, especially if he was so keen on selling Guehi. Because Liverpool didn't help us though. Liverpool done a 30 as well.
And this is one thing.
In the bid very late.
If it's business as usual, and I'm Steve Parish, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know if my manager's going to sign an extension, so I can't necessarily just count on him or bring in players just for him. Fine, but you still have a player that is going into the last year of his contract that is of great value to us that we need to get replaced. Manager be damned. And you didn't do it. And it led us to this point now. So regardless of what's going on with the manager, you didn't do what you were supposed to do in terms of finding a viable replacement in the allotted amount of time.
Do you believe in the reports? Of course, you don't know, but do you believe in the reports suggesting that Glasner would have walked if we sold Guehi, and that's the reason why we didn't sanction the deal?
Man, you know what? I think that could have been a real thing. I think it could have been a real thing because of the fact that you have this one thing that you were supposed to do, that you needed to do, that you did not hold up your end of the bargain on, and here you stand still trying to pull off the action that you wanted from the beginning, but you didn't handle your side of the bargain. So what's the retaliation from your manager? Well, if you're not going to be a man of your word to me, who are you going to be a man of your word to? I can't work for you. I can't work under you. I'm going to leave. So then once you know that as the owner, you kill the deal because you don't want to lose the manager, because you know you stand a chance to be able to re-sign him to a longer deal. But that's only if you keep your word and be a man of your word. So
based on that, why did we pull out of the deal? Are we saying that Igor Julio was the reason why we pulled out of the deal, the Brighton sixth choice centre back? Regardless, it doesn't look good for Parish anyways. I mean, we pulled out the deal because we couldn't sign that centre back who went to West Ham. And where was he? Brighton don't even want him. And we was going to be the Guehi replacement. So at the end of it, the whole situation just doesn't look good on him. It doesn't look good on him, even if that was.
And there's not much you can say otherwise that would make him seem like he was doing good. Like, and it's not stories from sources. It's not stories from sources. Like here's my thing. You're saying these are all stories from sources. Did we know during the season, last season, that Marc was not going to resign? That is a fact. We knew that. That's not a story. It doesn't regardless of the source. That was the truth. Did our owner do what was necessary to bring in a replacement early enough so that we could get rid of him? No, he did not. That is not source reliant. That's the truth, because we don't have a viable Guehi replacement, immediate Guehi replacement on our team right now. So therefore, the fact is he didn't do what was necessary to find the person on the front end, and he couldn't do it on the back end. So where's the belief in sources? The truth is he didn't do what he had to do to bring someone in.
Let's see. Let's see. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Of course, today the player ratings dropped. If you want to have a bit more positivity, we could go and reflect on the Villa game rather than last 24 hours. Patrick and Lou done a great job talking about the game in a bit more detail, especially with individual performances. And tomorrow there's a special video dropping where I spoke to Villarreal Fan TV to learn more about our new signing, Yeremy Pino. That'll be dropping tomorrow afternoon about the strengths, weaknesses, and more about the player himself. That's it from us. If you have enjoyed this, drop a like, subscribe, and if you're watching on replay, let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And until next time, up the Palace.
Up the Palace.